Angry and ready to roll, as are we on this Wednesday morning. It's Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin. We're presented by Progressive Insurance, and all of our guests, and we are jam-packed today. Join us on the Goodyear Hotline.
What a show today.
Indeed. Fellas, how you doing this morning? Before we get into talking about how Deshaun Watson's doing, and I hope you're not nearly as steamed as he is this morning.
I'm solid. I can't complain. Watch my Lakers win last night, which was interesting, so to speak, because I found myself really, what's so crazy, Jay? I don't have any brains. I'm as stupid as they come. Man, I got up and I act like I was blind. I got up and looked at my TV and I was like, those are real people in the stands.
Yes.
Damn. And then I had to realize where they were playing at.
You mean in Tuscaloosa? Or
No.
Okay. Houston. Okay, sorry.
Was playing in the Lakers were playing in Houston, but I understand the Tuscaloosa thing. Me and my guy here, Zubin, were talking about that offline. That was that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I watched the Lakers win last night. I thought that was big. Just continuing to keep moving forward.
I was watching highlights of the same game, Key, and they were showing James Harden warm up, and literally the guy calling the game was like, and there's James Harden, who hasn't missed a pregame meal in a long time. I was like, damn. Wait,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah, the offseason wasn't long enough for James. That's all. It just wasn't long enough. He needed to get into basketball shape. He had been hanging out and chilling and relaxing. It's a pandemic. And he just wasn't in shape.
Yeah.
Fair enough. He did say he hadn't touched a basketball after they got out of the bubble, and obviously Jay providing the visual evidence and that guy providing the visual evidence.
Hey, look, before we move on, I didn't need Jay to provide it or the announcer to provide it. All I got to do is see him and look at it on TV. I'm like, yeah, he hadn't touched the basketball.
He's still out there giving people buckets, though.
That's the amazing part, and we'll talk more about what's going on with Harden. It was interesting for the Lakers, as you saw, but obviously the other side with Houston, we'll get into that in just 15 minutes. Some crazy comments from Harden. You might think the beginning of the end is near, but from one Houston stud to another, we know James Harden is certainly on his way out. It's just a matter of when. The Texans are trying to do everything they can to keep Deshaun Watson in, but he may want out after everything that's gone down. And the latest salvo has been fired by one of the most explosive talents in Houston Texans history, right? Talking about maybe the most explosive talent in Deshaun Watson. Andre Johnson caught 70 touchdown passes in his career. Deshaun Watson has thrown 104. They are linked by organization and talent and offense. This is what Andre Johnson tweeted yesterday about the whole situation in Houston. And then I'm going to give you a couple facts here to clear it up. We'll get the fellas' thoughts. Quote, straight from Johnson, if I'm Deshaun Watson, I will stand my ground. The Texans organization is known for wasting players' careers. Since Jack Easterby has walked into the building, nothing good has happened for the organization. And for some reason, someone can't seem to see what's going on. Pathetic. Let me give you a couple of pieces of insight just to strengthen his words. Andre Johnson played in the NFL for 14 seasons. A dozen of those were spent with the Houston Texans. So he spent most of his career in Houston. This guy played in 4 career playoff games. A dozen years in Houston, 14 in the league, 4 career playoff games. That is a testament to wasting players' careers. Jack Easterby is the executive vice president of the Houston Texans. He joined the organization as the executive vice president of player development in April of 2019. So this is not some long seething thing. This is a guy that joined the organization less than 2 years ago. And Key, it all comes to a crescendo because after hearing this from Johnson, after hearing the displeasure from Watt, and, of course, Deshaun Watson, they will now finally interview Eric Bieniemy, the Chiefs' offensive coordinator. They had been on record as the only team to not interview a guy that everyone is lunging after.
Good for them. Congratulations. You put his name in the hat to be interviewed after you got pressured to do it, Zubin. Look, here's what I would say. If I'm Eric Bieniemy, I'm not interested. I'm cool. I know it's 32 jobs, and I know we complained about the Rooney Rule for years, and the Rooney Rule, just give him a chance. It's an opportunity. He has an opportunity to interview. It's fine. I don't want the interview. I don't need a token interview based on a quarterback or the face of the franchise having to go ham on you, which means kind of crazy on you, to have you then decide we may want to appease this young man so that he doesn't want to leave, because Deshaun has not said he wanted to be traded yet. We all kind of are, saying it for him, kind of giving it out, putting it out there for him. And if I'm Eric Bieniemy, I don't want that. It took people to go off for you to even pick up the phone. And on top of that, if I was Eric Bieniemy, the way that I feel, on top, a black quarterback vouching for a black head coach or black offensive coordinator to become a head coach potentially, now all of a sudden you want to interview me? After all this, you want? Never mind. I'd go take the Charger job if they offer me. I'll take the Eagles job. Hell, I'll take Detroit. At least I'm where I want to be, and people that want me. And that's the sad part about it, is that there's only 32 jobs, and you mentioned every team that has a vacancy. Even, I don't know, Philly may have put in the card to interview him now too, but every team prior to Philadelphia firing Doug Peterson put in the card to interview Eric Bieniemy. Your quarterback had to put a cryptic tweet or Instagram post or whatever it was out there in the streets for you to finally say, you know what? Yeah, let's just interview him. Like, no, man, I'm good. I don't want it. Doesn't matter, because you're not true to me. You're just doing this because Deshaun said something. You don't even feel me like that as a coach. You don't. You probably don't feel me like that as a person.
If I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm going to the McNair family and I'm saying, it's me or Jack Easterby. Which one is it? Either you fire Jack Easterby and you let me be involved in some of the decision making, or let me at least feel like I'm involved, if that's with Nick Caserio, because I know he's here. We gave him a 50 million, 45, whatever the number is, contract, and I can deal with that. If I have insight to who the next head coach will be, especially if he's offensive minded, let me be involved in that process. Or if you want to keep Jack Easterby, then I'm out. Send me to Miami. Send me somewhere else where I know that I actually am going to be involved in the process. He's a top 4 quarterback in the league, top 5. He deserves that, Key. He deserves that. And here's my last thing. Andre Johnson, if you go through it, legend there with the Houston Texans, right? Key, the last time he tweeted his own words, something that wasn't retweeted or an ad, the last time he spoke was April 24th, 2019. April 24th. 2019 was the last time he actually wrote on Twitter something from his own words. Everything else from that point on has been retweeted or it's been an ad. So this man barely speaks. For him to come to the forefront and speak this way about the organization, if they don't handle that with Jack Easterby, that's a problem not only for Deshaun Watson, but also potentially J.J. Watt, who's in the last year of his contract.
Look, I know you said that Deshaun needs to go to Kyle McNair, the owner of the Houston Texans, and tell him that Jack Easterby needs to part ways with the organization. But it's not about Jack Easterby. It starts with Kyle McNair. He's the owner. Jack Easterby was not supposed to be a part of the process to select the general manager or the head coach at all, according to Kyle McNair. Then all of a sudden, Jack Easterby is involved. Nick Caserio mentioned in his press conference that he would be working side by side, although the buck stops with him. That's too close for me. And Deshaun's he doesn't have the temperament to go in and say those sort of things. That's just not his style.
His agent needs to, though. That's David Mogetta. Somebody needs to say something like that.
But I'm sure that they are game planning whatever that conversation is going to be for the next step in where they want to go with this organization. If I'm him, I'll probably, hear him out. Then at the end, Zubin, probably make a decision of what I want to do with my family.
Indeed. Casario, the new GM, working with Easterby in their days in New England. Last thing I would just say about Andre Johnson, he was always known as one of the most quiet superstars in the NFL when he played.
Exactly.
I'm not extrapolating that to Twitter, but maybe the reason he hasn't tweeted is he was never a big talker during his playing days. He just let his play do the talking, so maybe he's a little bit more quiet, generally speaking.
Are
We'll
you
see.
looking at me and saying that?
No,
why did you look at me?
Not at all.
Are you
'Cause he
the
might
polar
be-
opposite, Key?
Yes, the other side of the spectrum.
He looked at me when he made that reference. The hell wrong with you, man?
Both sides of the spectrum have been broached in that
Both sides.
conversation.
Kid.
Okay, hang on.
All right, Dave.
Jeez.
We start the
I
day
want to
with
get to my car tomorrow. Or today, better yet.
We start the day with two unhappy superstars in Houston, of course, Deshaun Watson and James Harden. Are we at the point of no return with both? Time will tell. Start the day is brought to you by Indeed. Hiring? You need Indeed. Learn more at Indeed.com/credit. On the way, the NBA trade deadline isn't until March. They might wait till the very last second to ship James Harden out of Houston. But his comments last night already was a goodbye to the fans. You'll hear it straight from the beard after our man Key has this from DraftKings.